So finally, one of the most anticipated fighting games is going to be available for some people to play for the first time this week. So if you're lucky enough to be in the 2XKO Alpha Lab, or if you're generally interested enough in the game that you just want to know what's going on while you're watching other people play, I'm going to try to summarize the most important things to know to get started in 2XKO. And for starters, we have to talk about the buttons. As a tag fighter, it has a pretty familiar layout compared to other tag games, where you have a light, medium, and heavy button, 2 special move buttons, and a tag button. There are also options to add dash on a button and parry on a button as well. Like most tag fighters, you're able to chain your light into medium into heavy pretty easily just by pressing the buttons consecutively. However, the S1 and S2 buttons are something pretty new to fighting games. The S is for special move. Most fighting games use motion inputs for special moves, something like quarter circle forward plus a button, or forward, down, and down forward into a button. But in this game, you do a direction plus S1 or S2. What these do vary by character, and you do indeed use both. You have the ability to do a super by doing down down S1 or S2, and by doing down down plus both special move buttons, you could do an ultimate. These are the flashy cinematic moves, and usually they do a ton of damage. And then finally, there's the tag button, and this button has a lot of function in this game. Pressing forward or back plus tag will call assists. When you call the assist, holding the button will actually make the assist run further, and releasing the button will make them act from their new position. When you have one character left, you can still call your assist, a special version called the last stand. However, there are more restrictions around this than your typical assist call. Holding the tag button straight up just lets you tag and switch characters, but you can also launch and tag by pressing down heavy and tag at the same time. The tag button is extremely important. You can use it to defend space, rush down and extend combos, break combos, and more. Digging a little deeper into the tag button, one of the unique mechanics of the game is on the tag button. It's called the handshake tag. So the idea here is that when your assist is out, you can press tag and switch while the assist is out and control that character. And I just mentioned it, but you also have the ability to break combos by tagging while you're in hit stun. So there's this little gold thingy underneath your HP. It's kind of subtle, to be honest. I play a bunch of other fighting games, and I had to ask multiple times each time I play, how do you tell when you can and can't burst? But it's just a little stick of butter on your HP. This needs to be full in order for you to break out of combos. So then we have movement. So it definitely varies by character, but every character can dash, jump, and backdash. You're able to dash again faster by tapping down after you press the dash button. You can do this both forward and backwards. This is kind of where the different characters' movements stand out. Some characters slide really far, some characters don't. So for example, if you play Braum, you don't have to do backdash plus tap down and then do another backdash quickly. His dash is so short going backwards that you can just mash backdash and he moves really fast. Some characters are really floaty when they jump. Echo has a kind of like forward air dash, but you can't go backwards. But then Ari has an anime fighter style air dash. Everyone kind of have different movement options. Next, let's talk about defense. So we did mention the combo breaker. Most people in fighting games call this burst because of games like Guilty Gear, but you have more options than a combo breaker at your disposal. So before I even talk about other defensive options, this is a tag fighter. So it is very important to learn in tag games that the most important defensive option you have is your ability to navigate around the screen. Once you actually come into contact with your opponent, you're either doing really strong offense to them or they're doing it to you. So being able to maneuver around these things is by far the best defensive option in any tag game you play. And if there's any situation that you're like, man, this thing is really cheap, I don't know how to deal with it, the answer probably was you should have moved better so that you didn't get there in the first place. But with that out of the way, first we have the push block. This is pretty traditional in team fighters. The difference is that in this game, your push block costs a resource, 1 bar of your meter, which is on the bottom of the screen. It's pretty expensive in this game because you don't have a ton of meter to work with compared to other tag games like Marvel or Dragon Ball FighterZ. This is your really big, I am not trying to hold this offense option, and the cost reflects that. So then you have parry. You can choose to press 2 buttons to do it, or you can use the parry button. I'm going to be very honest, when I play this game, all the times I tried out the game, in the past year, I always binded this to one button, so I don't actually know what combination of buttons does parry. I'm guessing it's like light and heavy. Just throw that out there, but I use the parry button, and this is a counter that you could use to reverse situations. Then you have retreating guard. So this is probably the easiest one to use out of what we listed so far. The main thing is that it costs nothing, and rather than pushing the opponent off you like a push block, you kind of backdash out of the situation while you're blocking. You don't retreat as far as a push block, but again, it doesn't cost anything. And the biggest thing is that when you do this successfully, you actually build a little bit of meter. So I think this option is pretty worth learning how to use well. And finally, the last thing I want to talk about is the fuse system. So the fuse system is pretty integral to team building, and in the more recent builds, they have added a new one. So normally in a tag fighter, like let's say a 3v3 game like Dragon Ball FighterZ, you pick 3 characters and you pick an assist for each one. And the assists are what form your strategy, because at least in Dragon Ball FighterZ, a lot of the characters are actually kind of the same. So the biggest differentiator is how you use your assists to set up the strategy that you want. But this is a 2v2 game, so what you're working with are 2 characters and 2 assists. But then also the fuse. Fuses are a unique mechanic that change a certain aspect of how your characters play straight up. As of the recent EVO 2024 build, the basic one is called Pulse. Pulse is the auto combo fuse, and the game recommends it for people who haven't played fighting games before, or for fighting game players who have not gotten a chance to play the game yet. You are also open to doing the combos manually if you want. So my personal recommendation is, if you're new, is to try this. Basically what it does is that if you mash light or medium or heavy, your character will just automatically do a combo. But if you have played a fighting game already and you're playing this game, you can still use Pulse for a few things. If you think a character is too technical and like weird to learn and hard to play in a match, you could try Pulse for that. If you just want to experiment with a new character in general, you could do that as well. And as you get better, you can slowly wean your way off using the auto combos. So then you have Fury. So Fury actually does 2 things. This ups your damage when you're under a certain HP threshold, I believe it's 40%. And it also enables characters to do dash cancels under that condition. It felt like the maximum damage I was seeing from people who were playing the game a ton was around 50%. So maybe like 2 hits to kill, not counting the combo breaker, of course. So Fury would reduce the amount of hits you needed to win when you're behind, on top of new options being opened up by the dash cancels. Then you have Double Down. So in a previous video, I said that this was the fuse that I saw used the least out of them all. I mostly thought that because I just didn't think there were characters that used it well yet. But now we have Braum, who I think is really, really strong with this, and Alawi, who probably gets pretty good use out of this fuse. So what this does is, once you do a super with one of your characters, you can also do a super with another one of your characters. This would require some pretty specific synergies between characters in order to be effective, but in the case that you do have something strong to set up, it should be pretty good. The last 2 fuses are the ones I think you're going to see the most out of all of them, and the last one especially is the one I see people play the most. So first, we're going to go with 2x assist. The name kind of gives it away. This allows you to use 2 assists when you call your backup character. So this is especially useful for characters that have good neutral assists, as in characters who assist cover a specific section of the screen. So Ari has an example of this where she jumps in the air and shoots a couple projectiles kind of like diagonally at a 45-degree angle, and Echo throws a projectile horizontally that covers a ton of space. So those are kind of obvious uses, but I also think characters like Braum get a lot of usage out of this, for example with his shield assist. 2x assist can also extend offensive sequences and combos because you can call the assist again. And finally, the most popular fuse from my experience is a fuse called Freestyle. Freestyle allows you to use the handshake tag mechanic I talked about before twice. You can attack, call your assist, tag, do some stuff with that assist, and then tag back to your original character. The main way I've seen this used is pretty much for offense, but I'm sure there's going to be a ton of things you can do with this because it's very, very flexible, and it uses one of the game's main mechanics, the handshake tag, a lot. So these are pretty much the main mechanics of the game, from like the buttons to how tag and defense works, and also how you can modify your characters via the fuse. As usual, if you have any questions or comments, definitely feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I should be playing in the alpha pretty much from the beginning, which is I believe it's going to be 1 p.m. PST on Thursday. so I should just be in there. I'm planning on playing all the characters and posting overviews for all the characters and more. So if you have any questions about the game, pull up the stream at twitch.tv/LordKnight, or leave a question in the comment section below. Like and subscribe if you guys feel like it, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.